Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing, everybody? Hope we're doing well. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. It is Sunday Night Live. Let me just save something a second. There we go. Hope everyone is doing okay. We've got 4 people here. Martin Weeks is here, and Bobby Booth is here, and I don't know who else is here because you've not posted in the chat yet. If you post in the chat, then I'll know who you are, and it'll be cool. I'm just going to make sure that my laptop is ready to go. Because it'd be good to have a laptop working so I can see what you guys are saying. Are we getting somewhere? Bobby Booth is not a father, but happy Father's Day to you. Thank you, Bobby. That's cool, mate. Thank you. Okay, we'll leave that like that, I think. Is live? No, it's not live. There you go. There we go. All right, folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another edition of Sunday Night Live. And all that fun stuff. Who's been trying to message me? Somebody has. Okay, good. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Cool. Put that over there. All right, so let's make a start, folks. We've got 6 people here. It'd be nice if we have a few more people in, so we will wait just a minute or two for a few more people to get into the stream, and then we'll make a start. So as you can see by the title, we are at the penultimate show in this little room. Which means we moving out very, very soon. And what we will be doing is when we come out of here, when we move out of here on July 1st, we will take a wee break, maybe a week without the Sunday Night Live, and we will return probably the following Sunday. Let me just check some dates here. So where are we? Where are we? We are on Sunday the 17th. So next week we'll do normal show, and that'll be the last show in this room. And then we will take a break for a week, and my plan will be to do the first show in the new space, the new studio, on 8th of July. But that kind of depends upon being able to get things like internet organized at that point, which hopefully we will. So that is going to be the plan. No, we've not moved yet. This is all the original room. Nothing has changed. We've not moved yet. We move on July 1st, so 2 weeks today. So not moved yet. Yeah, nothing's changed. Nothing. The only thing that's changed, I think, Martin, since maybe the last time you were on my show, is some of the furniture that was in the back of the room. There used to be a big unit here, a big sort of brown unit. That's gone. That went a little while ago when, because I got a new desk for my studio to accommodate my Studio Live Series 3 mixer. So I went to IKEA and got myself a new desk. but I couldn't have the big brown unit and the desk in the same room because there's just not enough space. So that had to go. So now we've basically just got my TV and my old cassette decks and that kind of stuff there stuck in the corner. I'm not quite sure where they're going to go in the new room yet, but they will be in here. So just Bob is here. He says can't stay demoing a chimney. Sorry, I'm gonna have to miss tonight's episode. We'll watch later. That's cool, Just Bob. It'd be great if you can catch the replay. And if if you find yourself with a question or a question arises out of tonight, then drop me an email and I'll see if I can get that answered for you. Roger Blevins is here and he's giving me a big thumbs up, so I shall return the favor. Like that. That's all cool. Okay. I need to be able to see what I'm doing in real time. And I'll look over there to see what the stream is doing. Okay, so we have 8 people here. We normally have a few more than this, so we're a little bit thin on the ground, but I guess it is Father's Day, so I guess some folks are going to be out with their families today. And that's okay, so I don't mind us being a little bit low on numbers. Perry Brenning is here, and he says, "What's up? What's up, Perry? Hope you're doing well." So yeah, so I've got 2 shows to go, including tonight. We're in here tonight, and next Sunday will be the final show from this room, and hopefully the final show using the current streaming setup. So slow internet is going to be a thing of the past, which is something I am very excited about. Bobby is saying VIP. Yeah, VIP is almost ready to go. I know I keep saying it's almost ready to go, but it really is. We hit on a couple of snags, a couple of issues that we need to fix that have had us a little bit stumped. But we are working on it, and it'll be fixed hopefully very soon, and we will be able to get it all ready to rock and roll. It looks very, very cool. I've got content that I'm starting to put up in the VIP, so it'll be there waiting for you when I launch it, which will hopefully be very soon. We just got to get some of the front end fixed and made and everything else. The actual back end of it is all working pretty well. It's just the front end that seems to be a bit of a problem. But my good friend Rich Westfall is working with me on building it and developing it, and he's having to learn some new stuff as he goes. I think that might be him pinging me just now as well. I don't know, he's pinging me. Okay. So yeah, so VIP is very much just about ready. Can't launch it until the front end of the issues at the front end actually work. Chris says, I never received your compression PDFs. Well, if you join my email list, you don't get PDFs. You get a link to a 5-part video series. You should get that in your confirmation email once you've signed up to my email list. You should get those. So I don't think I've had any other reports. I don't think I've had any other reports of people not receiving them, as far as I know. As far as I know, I have 39 email subscribers. Let me just go and check. I can check pretty quickly. And I can see yeah, I have 39 email subscribers to my email list. And what you should get on your confirmation email after you signed up is you should get links to receive the links to 2 Dropbox folders. One Dropbox folder is where you get the stems for Chanel, and then the other Dropbox folder contains the compression video series. And you basically just follow the links and take all the stuff, and it's yours. Okay, Chris says, my mistake. I missed them. I'll find them. Okay. Okay, and Rainer is here. He says, am I in? Well, if you're here, you're in. Let's see. Perry says, gotta go. Just thought I'd drop in for a moment. Got family here. I'm introducing you to them. Oh, that's very kind of you. With that in mind, I will say a very big hello to Perry Brenning's family. Hope you're all doing well and having an awesome evening this Sunday. So hope you're having a great time together. And thank you very much for your support, Perry. Appreciate it. Diego is here. He says, hola. Hola, Diego. ¿Qué tal, mi amigo? Let's see. What else have we got? Chris says, my Father's Day present is everyone leaving me the heck alone. That's cool. Yeah. Getting time alone when it's Father's Day. Yeah. I hear you. It's been a busy day here for me. My son had parties this morning and this afternoon, which my wife took him to, and I took my daughter to church because I was playing bass this morning in the church meeting, and then it took us quite a long time to get back home. It always takes us about 20 minutes to get to church in the morning, and then it takes us nearly an hour and a half to get back on the bus. Because bus services suck. Lothian buses, if you're watching this, your Sunday service sucks. But I doubt anyone is. Okay, Martin says, hey, Chris, sorry I haven't gotten back to you. Been very crazy here on the home front. Okay, you're talking to Chris. That's cool. All right, let's get started with tonight's show because we are coming up on 20 minutes in and we've got 11 people here. And I don't think we're going to get very much more than that, which is a shame. I would love it if we could have maybe 20 or 30 or so here. But we only seem to get that when I sit in for Johnny. When I sit in for Johnny, we tend to get a lot more viewers. But when it's just my show, we don't. So that's a bit disappointing. But anyway. Raina says, of course, I mean on your email list with the new law that I have to sign in again. Yeah, you didn't have to sign in again. You basically just needed to just confirm that you were okay with me having your data. That's pretty much it. So, you know, that's all that email was all about, was basically just saying, hey, you know, the GDPR has come into effect, and I just want to know that you guys who are on my email list are okay with me having your email address, and I'm not going to do anything with your email address other than send you content that is going to be helpful and useful to you. That's it. That's the only thing that I use your email address for. I don't use it for anything else. I don't sell it to anybody. I don't share it with anybody. I keep it secure on the MailChimp secure server, because that's who my email list is hosted with. It's hosted with MailChimp, so all your information is kept stored with them and is therefore subject to their policy on privacy and everything else, and the security of your data, as well as my own personal privacy, policy, which is very simple, which is basically the only thing I use your email address for is to tell you some cool stuff, teach you some cool stuff, and, you know, point you in the direction of some cool products that I make or some friends of mine make. And that's pretty much it. Bobby Booth says, I got so many of them. Yeah, you know, with the change, anybody that you're subscribed to, any email list that you're subscribed to is going to send you an email about GDPR. And are you okay with having their information and all of that? So some take it really, really a long way, like they get you to complete another form. I haven't done that. I don't know whether I should. I've not really studied the GDPR thing in phenomenal detail. I have looked at it. I know what I need to do to be compliant with it, but I haven't really looked at it in massive amounts of detail. Let's see. Chat just jumped. Martin says, if time available tonight, can you do some demos on using the fat channel compressors, not just drums, please? As I'm not getting the results I would like with Studio One's regular compressor. You know what? The Studio One stock compressor is actually really, really good. It is, in my opinion, one of the best native compressors out there. It's really good. It is, however, very, very transparent. All it is going to do is just turn stuff down. That's all it's going to do. It's not going to give you any color. It's not going to give you any vibe. It's not going to give you any tone. It's not going to do anything like that because it's not designed to. It is designed to be a transparent compressor, just to compress the audio. That's all it does. If you're wanting something that gives you a little bit more grit, a little bit more character, that actually shapes some of the tone, then yes, you're going to need something like a third-party compressor or what have you. Something that you would get from Waves or Slate Digital, or maybe even using the fat channel compressors, of which there are now a few that are available. There are some new ones that you can get for free in the fat channel, and there are some ones that you have to pay for because those are all designed for the Studio Live mixers. That's their primary function. So hang on just 1 second. So yeah, we can see about that, Martin. It's going to be pretty hard for me to show you, to give you examples that are going to be very clear for you to hear through my low bandwidth at the moment. So doing anything to do with compression is going to be hard. You're not really going to hear a whole lot different because of just the nature of the beast with my low bandwidth. I mean, you know, my internet is very, very slow, and you know, there's not a lot I can do about that. Let me just reduce that down a bit. See if I can buy me some bandwidth a bit. Bobby says that's why I use the other compressors. Yeah, the other compressors are great. They will give you color. They will give you, you know, all sorts of different. You know, they all have a different personality, and different tone colors and that kind of thing. But you know, the stock compressor is actually really good. Don't, you know, thumb your nose up at the stock compressor because you think, hey, it's just a transparent compressor. But there are some styles of music where actually what you really want is a transparent compressor. To be honest, like EDM, for example. EDM, you're not going to need a compressor that's going to give you tons of grit and character and vibe and all of that kind of stuff, because that's not the style. You know, the style EDM, a lot of EDM music is very clinical and clean. So you want EQs and compressors that are very clinical and clean. So your stock compressors are going to do exactly that job. I mean, pretty much nobody in EDM is going to use parallel compression on a kick drum sample or a kick drum sound using, you know, an SSL G series bus compressor. You're just not going to do it because that's just not appropriate for that style. But you know, rock music, pop music, jazz, folk music, yes, you're probably going to want a little bit more color. But really, you know, those are the kind of things those are the kind of compressors you go for once you've learned the basics of compression. If you've got the basics of compression down and you understand attack and release and you understand threshold, you understand the knee and all of those things and what they do, then fair enough, and you've got those under control. And, using the stock compressor, you have mastered compressing just about any source in any particular fashion using the native compressor. Then go for it. Go find another compressor. Go find an LA2A. Go find an 1176. Go find a Neve. Go find an SSL. Go find a Fairchild or a Pi or something like that. All of those compressors are great, but if you don't understand how compression works, then you're going to struggle with those. Yeah, Joe Gilder made a short series this week. Yeah, he makes some very, very good series, actually, at the moment. He's got some really, really good content, which I wholeheartedly recommend. Joe is a very good friend of mine, and I do talk about him quite a bit because he's a great guy. He's very passionate about what he does, and he's extremely knowledgeable about what he does as well. He's a very good communicator. So yeah, his series that he's doing at the moment is really, really good. And he's also very funny. He's got a great sense of humor. So let's see. Martin says, got the free ones for the Fat Channel. Yep. Diego says, you're going to make a tour of your new house. I will. Once all my new gear, once all of this gear is in the new space and I have my treatment up and I've learned the room a little bit, we will do a live stream. We will do a Sunday night live from my new space, and I will be showing you around, and I will be making some videos showing my new space and everything else. So I will definitely do that. It's going to be very cool. It's going to be bigger than what I have right now, so there's going to be some learning to do because I'm so used to this tiny little space. There's going to be different issues that I'm going to have to deal with, some different room modes, that kind of stuff that I'm going to have to get used to. Martin says, I do use it, but mostly in the mix bus. Love it for mastering part of a song. Great control of level and doesn't kill the drum track. Goes on 8 after that and really makes for a nice final song. Right, okay. You guys are talking about something else. Chris says, question, would you be willing? Would I be willing to do what? Stephen Greenwood has just arrived, and we have 15 people in the room now. So I am going to go and get... Oh, that's why I'm struggling for bandwidth. That makes sense. My client, one of my clients has just decided to start uploading some stuff to Dropbox. That explains that. Let's see if I can get Studio One going and not crash my stream. Okay, I'm confusing the heck out of my computer right now. It doesn't know what to do. Okay, look up question got passed by. All right, I will try and find your question. Chris, you're asking about me being willing. Oh, here we go. I often ask about horn ranging. I found a fantastic article. I would like to message me the link to get your opinion. In addition, I'll post the link in the HST support group. Yeah, Chris, don't post it in the support group. Post it in the songwriting group or in the Songwriting Simplified page rather than the support group. But yes, please do send me that article on horn arranging. I've actually got some content on horn arranging that I'm putting together that's going to go up on the VIP. That's one of the things that's going to go up there. There's music theory. There's all sorts of stuff going up there. You're talking about the Tokyo Dawn plugins. Yeah, I don't use any Tokyo Dawn stuff. So you guys are talking about something that I know nothing about. Diego asks, why is classical music recording so quiet? Do they even use compression? Here's the thing. Mixing classical orchestral music is an art all of its own. Right? It's very, very, very different to mixing rock, or it's very different to mixing big band. It's very different to mixing pop and R&B and EDM and all of that. They do use compression, but here's the thing. You use compression in a completely different way for classical music than you would for rock and pop and contemporary music. So the thing is, there's a much wider dynamic range with classical music than there is with pop music, with rock, with jazz. The dynamic range is massive in classical music, and it has to be. It has to be big. There has to be a big dynamic range because that's the nature of how the music works. Particularly with post-romantic music, lots of big contrast between extremely loud and extremely quiet. So what do you do with compression in a classical setting like that? Well, the temptation is, and my phone is pinging away. I'm going to have to turn the audio off on my phone. Thank you for sending me stuff, Chris. Appreciate it. So the temptation, if you're used to mixing rock music, when you're mixing orchestral music, when everything goes very, very quiet, the temptation you're going to have is to either turn everything up using, compression, makeup gain on compression, or that kind of stuff, or automation. That's going to be your temptation. But you know what? You don't want to do that. Rock music has quite a narrow dynamic range. Pop music, more or less the same. Jazz music has a much broader, bigger dynamic range. Classical music is even bigger. So there is a real art, and most of it is down to automation, and a lot of it is done in mastering, how you kind of even out those, so that you're not constantly, reaching for the volume controller when you're listening to, I don't know, something by Shostakovich or Beethoven. Beethoven probably is a real challenge to mix because the dynamic range is so drastic. 1 minute it can be screamingly loud with the whole orchestra in, and then down to kind of like very, 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 very quiet pizzicato strings and maybe, flutes and an oboe, and that's it. And then everything's back in again, and we're down to. So that's a real challenge, and a lot of that's to do with automation. You do lots and lots and lots of automation in orchestral mixing. So there you go. Do they even use compression, Diego? Yes, they do, just in a completely different way to how you're probably used to. Movie Kid is here. Hello, Movie Kid. And he says, where are we moving to? We are moving just up the road. Bobby asked Martin, have you tried the MJUC Junior? And that is a compressor I can very, very, very much recommend. I have it. It's by a German audio company called Klanghelm, which is pretty much a one-man operation run by a guy called Tony. And he's a great guy. He's passionate about audio. He's passionate about making his own plugins. Basically, the plugins he makes are the plugins he uses. They're not necessarily modeled after anything in particular, but they do sound great. And the cool thing with the MJUC, whether you get the junior or the paid for one is cheap as chips, folks. It's only not a whole lot more than $20. So it's well worth getting. And the thing with that is you get 3 compressors for the price of 1. You get a Mark 1, a Mark 2, and a Mark 3, and they are really, really good. And they each have their own unique vibe and sound to them. and you know, the Mark 1 has very little in the way of controls, and then the Mark 2 has a bit more. The Mark 3 has even more than that, which is very cool, because there are some instances where you only want an input and output control, a bit like an LA2A, a bit like you know, any other optical style compressor. You know, really handy. You just set it and forget it. Dooley still says, has anyone heard of Studio One 4 freezing up whilst loading up VSTs during boot up? That will happen if your if the VSTs that are trying to be scanned cannot be located, or are not being detected by the scanner. So the scanner is basically looking and looking and looking and looking and looking and looking and not finding them. So if that happens, then you're probably going to have to go into your VST plugin files and see if we can figure out which one it is that's causing the problem. But yeah, it tends to be if there are plugins that are not being found that it does that. Martin says, read classical music. I'd guess that the level of skill and musicianship also plays a large part. Wouldn't really need to fix a capture when recording classical. You do a lot of rehearsal in orchestral playing, and you pretty much drill the piece of music until you can pretty much play it from memory. I remember from days when I used to play in an orchestra, we would play something like, I don't know, maybe Beethoven's Second Symphony, for example, or the Fifth, either one, and we would run it with the chart in front of us, and then our conductor would say, "Right, guys, put the charts away," and you'd play all the movements from memory. If you could play it from memory, then what it means is you are able to focus on your performance a lot more than just following the chart and playing as you go. So, and it also means you internalize the music. You internalize what your part sounds like. You internalize what everybody else's part sounds like. And then you kind of you're using the chart as a guide, almost. And that's certainly something that was drilled into us. And you rehearse until, you know, you go past perfection, I would say. If you're making a classical record, you rehearse until you get to perfection, and then you push it beyond perfection so that it almost sounds improvised. It's that slick. And controller dynamics is, you know, it comes from, you know, members of each section following their section leaders, and their section leaders following the concert master being in complete unbroken communication with the conductor. So that's a lot where that comes from. Okay. You guys are talking about the TDR Nova and Kononkoff compressors. I don't have either of those, but I do have the MJUC. You can talk about that to my heart's content. All right, we've got 18 people in the room now. Like I say, it's going to be a little bit tricky for me to demonstrate anything to do with compression, because over my low bandwidth, you're not really going to hear it. Because my low bandwidth means that my audio is coming out to you guys at 128K instead of something like 320. So when I've got faster broadband, more bandwidth, Bernard Duranti will have a lot more clarity. Dooley still says Studio One locks up at that point and never gets to a place where I can get to the menu to set plugin locations. Yeah, you're probably actually going to have to go in via your file management system, whether you're on a PC or a Mac. You're going to actually have to go into those files. It's going to be tough. But you'll get there. You'll find what it is that's causing the problem, and you'll be able to move forward. You're gonna have to do a little bit of experimentation, and I know it's going to be a pain in the butt to do it, but you know, you'll get going. There are, if you've got the new Waves 10 plugins, that could be part of what your issue is. Because at the moment, there is a compatibility issue between Waves 10 and Studio One 4 that is being worked on. There is a workaround for it. And I think there's a statement actually on the Waves website about it. So you can go and check that out if maybe that's part of the problem. Martin says, disciplined rehearsal is sadly missing from a lot of mod music. I think some. I think a lot of the best recordings that you hear these days and the best live performances, you know, a lot of those come from a lot of rehearsal time before you go and play the show. Bobby says, I've lost all of my waves. Yeah, that's something where I think you will probably need to raise a support ticket with Waves about that. You may find that you might be able to roll back to Waves 9 if you did not delete your Waves 9 plugins. If it asks you to uninstall Wave 9 plugins, do not uninstall them. Install Waves 10 and have your 9s side by side. That might well be an option for you there, Bobby. But I would say reach out to Waves, go and read their statement on their website. See, you know, this is why I don't advocate. This is one of the reasons why I do not advocate updating software, you know, until some of the stuff is worked out. You know, I think checking compatibility is a big thing, a really important thing. You know, see what Waves actually says on their website about what Waves 10 is compatible with. Is it actually officially supporting Studio One 4 or not? If there's nothing on there that says that they are officially supporting Studio One 4 for Waves version 10, then I would say don't update your Waves. I've not updated mine, and I'm not going to update mine at the moment. All of my version 9 plugins are still working with Studio One 4 and 3.5.6. So that would be my advice. Rainer says, Waves 10 with Studio One 4 works good here. Don't have any problems. Good. And MovieKid is reporting the same traffic. So yeah, so it could be a number of different issues going on there. But you rest assured, guys, you are not the only ones who are reporting issues with Waves 10 and Studio One 4. There's quite a lot. If you go and look on the Personas forum, you will find that there's quite a lot of traffic about this at the moment already. So Personas are very well aware of the situation, as are Waves, and I'm pretty sure that the two companies are working together to resolve it, because I know that the two companies do work well together. MovieKid says, I always update straight away. Yeah, well, the thing with updating straight away, as soon as a brand new thing comes out, or a brand new update to whatever thing that is that comes out, is that there could be bugs in the software, because unfortunately the nature of software development is that you can improve something in one area really, really well, but somehow, for some reason, and it's not always a related reason, doing something over here really, really well breaks something over here, or makes this not work properly. By changing that line, you affect this part. And yeah, beta testers do a lot to try and catch a lot of that stuff, but some is still going to get through. And the reason why is because the nature of beta testing is that you're testing on real world systems, but usually beta testing is made up of a small community of testers. And not everybody has every kind of variable of components, gear, speed of machine, operating system, everything else. There are so many variables. There are thousands upon thousands of variables. So, when people complain about beta testing and say, oh, beta testers should have caught this one, beta testers should have caught this one. Well, it's all well and good to say that, but at the end of the day, even beta testers don't have all of the variables covered, because it's impossible to have all of the variables covered. So something is going to crop up that nobody expects. And that's just the nature of software. So, to basically say, hey, we need Presonus to come up with a bug-free version of Studio One. Well, God bless you, because you'll be sitting there forever, because there will never be a bug-free version of Studio One. There'll never be a bug-free version of Pro Tools or Cubase or Logic or Cakewalk or GarageBand or anything like that. There just won't be. It's the nature of software development, guys. Oren Chapman says, so sorry I'm late. Hey, good to see you, Oren. And we've got 20 people in the room now. And Chris is here. He says, I serendipitously ran across a really cool technique. May I share? Go ahead, Chris. And I'm sure that is fine. It's going to take some time to tap that out, though, I'm pretty sure. I do have Studio One 4 open in the background, folks, so we can look at stuff. But like I said, no point in us really looking at compression, because you won't really hear it, and I'll be able to hear it just fine in my headphones, but you guys won't be able to hear it. Martin says, bug-free Windows 10 has an infestation. Windows 10 has a lot of issues, that's for sure. Deer Creek is here. He says, what's your opinion of Sound on Sound? Sound on Sound, I'm assuming that is. Or is that just SOS recording with? I don't know what SOS recording is. I'm not sure what you mean by SOS. SOS could mean Save Our Souls. It could mean Sound on Sound. The magazine could be anything. SOS recording with audio in Studio One. Johnny Guy thinks I'm crazy to want it in Studio One. I use it a lot in Sonar, but I don't use Sonar much anymore. Building difficult audio tracks, etc. Not quite sure. Sound on Sound. Yeah, Sound on Sound. I'm not really sure what you mean by that either, to be honest. Other than Sound on Sound, the magazine. If you're talking about layering sounds, that's something else. That's a whole nother subject. Chris says, with rock music underneath the electric bass, I'll utilize the contrabass in Presence XT legato to hold down the root. Oh, you mean to create like a drone? You can certainly do that and bury it in the mix. You can. You want to be careful with that, though, because you could actually just create a muddy kind of modal point in your song. It can sound fat if you do it right. I tell you where something like that really does work, actually, Chris, is if you sidechain that note to the kick drum. Because the kick drum is then gonna, especially if that particular note happens to be the root of the key of the song. So if the song is in G, then you just got like a low G that's constantly playing, but the only time you hear it is when the kick drum is played, and for that moment the kick drum is played, that G gets opened and then closed again. So you could sidechain it with a gate and do that, and use the kick drum to trigger the gate to open and close. That would sound pretty cool, and it would add a little bit of punch and a little bit of girth to your kick drum. Deer Creek says to loop an audio track and add as it loops, as you can with MIDI, just not audio. I kind of like you mean like a little bit like one of those looper machines, something like that. I think it's a good idea. There are not going to be hundreds of situations in which you would use that. There might be some kind of more experimental situations in which you might want to use that. But by all means, I would say to you, Deer Creek, that maybe just put it in as a feature request in answers.presonus.com in the Studio One feature request thread. Just go stick it in there, and campaign for it. Get folks to vote it up if it's something you're passionate about. Yeah, sidechaining is a fantastic idea. Yeah, that'll work for you. Oren says I posted a link to a YouTube video that was using Presence XT in pattern mode. I had no idea it could work that way. There's a lot of things. Yeah, pattern mode is very, very powerful. I could and probably should devote an entire show to pattern mode. In fact, I haven't really finished my 4.0 video series actually. So yeah, I would like to do a video on pattern mode and kind of go through some of the ways in which you can manipulate and use that. You can use it with Impact. You can use it with Presence XT. You can use it with Sample One. It's a pretty powerful mode to use. So yeah, I will be doing a video on that, and I may well when I'm in my new studio space, I may well do a live stream dedicated to pattern mode, so that we can delve in and you guys can ask whatever questions you've got on it. So we can certainly do that. We have raced through this show, guys. We've got 20 people here, which is very cool. I'm very pleased with that. And we got about 10 minutes or so left. So if you guys have got a burning question that you'd like me to tackle, get it in the chat and I will see if I can get through as many as I can in the next 10 minutes. If I don't get to your question, guys, and it's an important one, and it's an issue you would like resolved, then what I suggest you do is drop me an email to johnny@johnnylipsonstudios.co.uk, and I will see about answering your email with a video, or something written up I can do. But right now it's a busy time here because I'm trying to finish up client mixes. I've got a couple of records on the go. I've got 2 12-song records on the go at the moment that I have to mix and master, and have to have them all done before moving day. So it's a busy time here at the moment, and also helping my wife pack and trying to keep the house tidy at the same time as packing is nearly impossible. So yeah, if I don't get to your question tonight, then yes, drop me an email. Yeah, Orange Shackman, you posted about pattern mode. That's right. Any idea if the new compressors will be sold separately? Yes, they are sold separately. I can absolutely show you that as well. We can go to the Presonus shop. I'll share my screen in just a second once we've got to the shop, and I'll show you where it is. I'll show you how you can get to them. I'm pretty sure that they are sold separately. You can pick them up as individual items, I'm pretty sure. You guys should be able to see this now. Yes, you can. Good. Okay. Let's go to Fat Channel. All right, so you can get the whole, as you rightly point out, you can get the whole bundle, £461, which is about $500. Back to new and noteworthy and see if it gives me an option to look at them individually. Maybe you can't get them separately. I thought you could. I thought you could pick each one up as an individual plugin. That's what I thought you could do. I actually thought you could. Go to home. Let's go to software. Let's go to Studio One add-ons. And once here, we should find them here. See what this does. No, not here. Back to Studio One add-ons. See if I can find this. I certainly thought you could. Does it sit here? Studio One. Ah, this might be it. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it just comes as one. Oh, here we go. Individual plugins. Right. So here we go. This is where you go. When you're in the shop, you go home, software, then Studio Live Series 3 plugins, Fat Channel Collection Volume 1, and then you should get either bundles or individual plugins. So you should be able to go to individual plugins, and then this should load up the price for each individual EQ and compressor. I thought you could get them individually. All right, so let's just run back to how you do that. So you go back to software. You scroll down to here, Studio Live Series 3 plugins, Fat Channel Collection Volume 1, individual plugins, and here they all are. So you got the free ones up here. Then you've got the Alpine EQ. They're all £73.72, which works out to be about $80, I think. Frank Wagner's here. Good to see you. And UHR Sprung is here as well. He says, I'm new here. Do you only use Studio One or other DAWs? No, I'm only a Studio One guy. I used Cubase for 25 years, and before that, I used Steinberg Pro 24. And before that, I was a console guy. I worked in a studio where they had an SSL E series console, and they went to an Ampeg tape machine, 24 channel tape machine, and then they went to, can I remember the 2-track master tape machine? I can't remember. Can't remember what the other tape machine was, but yeah, they went to like 2 tape machines. And that's what I worked with. So my own personal home studio, which I've had since 1989-ish. I started out with an 8-track reel-to-reel tape machine, and that's what I recorded to. And I learned quickly how to bounce things down so you could make 8 tracks into 32 tracks. But you had to commit to the sound pretty early on. And then, as I say, 1989, maybe 1990, I got an Atari ST 1040 Eagle computer, and I got Steinberg Pro 24 with that. And that's when I started going hybrid. I started recording some backing tracks in Pro 24, and then I'd bring those into stereo pair on the tape machine, and then I would add other instrumentation and vocals and that kind of stuff bouncing down after that on the tape machines. And then, so I was kind of hybrid for quite a number of years, using like a console and a reel-to-reel tape machine, as well as Pro 24 and then Cubase. And then I was fully in the box pretty much from about 2001, I think. That's when I went fully in the box and ditched the console. Well, it wasn't really my console. It was the console that was in the studio. But I did have my own console as well at home. I had a mixer. Who was it? It was a Behringer mixer, I think it was, that I used. And I got rid of that eventually. And as I say, went fully in the box, just using Cubase on a desktop PC. And I did that all the way through until 2013 when I switched to Studio One. So I hope that answers your question. Hang on, I'm missing some questions here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Now that you know how to get into this, Deer Creek, I can stop sharing my screen. So let me see. Let me go back to the stream. There we go. Frank says the word is enjoying retirement. Good for you, my friend. And I'm glad you're here. Deer Creek says, Frank, come and cut my grass now you're retired. Let's see what I'm missing. Deer Creek says, are those individual for the DAW or just the Series 3 mixers? You get them for Studio One as well because they are for the fat channel for the Studio Live mixers. That is their primary function. Okay? Which is why they are called Studio Live Series 3 fat channel add-ons. So they are designed primarily for the fat channel DSP in the Series 3 mixer. However, this is the way it works because the idea is that there is a full ecosystem between Studio One and the Series Live mixers. Here's the thing. That's why there is a fat channel plugin in Studio One, why there has always been a fat channel plugin in Studio One, because of the Studio Live mixers. Let's say you mix something in your Studio Live mixer and you're recording it through Capture, then you bring it into Studio One for finishing up. You can use the same fat channel plugin that's in Studio One that is also on your mixer. So you can use the same settings and have the same sound. That's the idea. That's why there is a fat channel counterpart in Studio One. So that is why these add-ons are available for the fat channel in Studio One, for that very reason, because there has to be a counterpart between the mixer and Studio One so that you can mix what you've recorded through your Studio Live in Studio One and have the same settings and everything else. So if you're using the new add-ons on your mixer, you will want to be able to have access to those in Studio One. So that's the idea. So yes, you can have them as individual plugs for the fat channel in Studio One. You do not have to have a Series 3 mixer to be able to use them. But the primary function is for the Studio Live mixer, which is why they're priced a little bit more high ticket than you would think for that reason. So I hope that answers your question, Deer Creek Audio. Let's see. Raina says, good night. Have a nice and successful week. Love and peace and respect. Thanks for your time and help, Johnny. You're welcome, Raina. Good night, my friend. I know it's very late for you. You're an hour ahead of me. Chris says, I'm willing if you can sport me the dough for the plane ticket. We'd love to see your harbor. Okay. You guys are talking. You at Just Sprung says, I used Cubase for 20 years and 3 weeks in Studio One. What was your reason to change? Basically, Cubase just got more and more bloated with every update and then every upgrade version that they came out with from the very beginning. Because basically they, instead of kind of like getting rid of legacy code when it's no longer required, like Presonus have done with Studio One version 3.0, they got rid of all of the version 2 legacy code. That is all gone, and they pretty much started with a fresh, new, lean, slender code. So there's no legacy to worry about. Whereas with Cubase, you have 30 years worth of legacy code. So version 9.5 that they have at the moment, and of course it will go to Cubase 10. When Cubase 10 comes out, you'll have all of the new features on top of 30 years worth of buried code. And so, you compare the size of the file size of the download for Cubase, compare that to the file size footprint for Studio One. Studio One is tiny by comparison. And that's because there's none of that legacy to worry about. So, you know, Cubase just got more and more bloated, and therefore it got harder to operate because it became, you know, the more bloat there is, the more chance there is of code going bad, which happens with Cubase. Code goes bad, and then you get issues, which means you can't really work in a stable environment. Cubase would crash several times a day. Studio One, I've been using it since 2013. I've had 2 crashes, and both of those I can tie down to mistakes that I made. I made Studio One crash twice. It didn't crash by itself. I did it. I created a scenario that forced it to crash. So there you go. Oren Chapman says, that's a great story, Johnny. I grew up in one of my dad's studios, MCI 16-track, 2-inch tape, German plate reverb, and a whole lot of splicing. Oh, splicing. Yeah, I still have a wound on my thumb. You may or may not be able to see it, but there's a nice little cut that runs from about here all the way across my thumb. That is a splicing wound. The splicing knife went really, really far into my thumb. Chris says, I about passed my soda through my nose. Give a brother a warning next time. I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. But you guys are having a good chat, which is cool. Frank Wagner says, been using chord track in Studio One 4 a lot. Found it pretty amazing. Yes, it is pretty amazing. It's very, very powerful. And here's the thing with chord track. This is the disclaimer from Presonus. They basically said, look, we designed this to give songwriters a chance to be able to hear what their chord changes sound like if they change them up a bit. So that's the reason, that's the rationale behind it. It at this point is not necessarily meant to be kind of like something that you would use in a professional tracking situation. It's something that you would use kind of like when you're at your starting point with your song or with your arrangement, and maybe you're wanting to check out, hey, would a key change work in the chorus, in this final chorus, maybe, you know, going up from D to E, maybe. Okay, so I could just transpose all of my chords in one fell swoop. Yes, you can. You can have all of your tracks follow. So you can try that out. So that's kind of what that's for. So, which is why kind of at the moment, chord track only really deals with triads and 4-note voicings. It doesn't really doesn't deal very well with, you know, nice, you know, if I try those chords out with chord track just goes, I have no idea what you just did. It literally just enters nothing. It's just like, I don't know what that was, so I'm not going to put anything. Or sometimes it will come up with some convoluted guess. But it is baby steps, I think, into something probably much bigger, I would imagine. And I'm not really going to say any more about that because I'm not allowed to. Yeah, Chris says, before I forget, happy Father's Day to all you daddios, especially if you have daughters and must inspect potential boyfriends. Yes, I have a daughter. She's only 8. She's coming up on 9 years old. Haven't done the inspecting potential boyfriends just yet, but I know that will be coming up, and she knows how that will go. Martin says, I'll be sitting right here just cleaning my gun. Oh, okay. All right. Charles Sprung says, thank you. See you next time. Good night. Best regards from Europe, Austria, Vienna. Vienna. Oh, I love Vienna. Vienna is one of my favorite places in the whole of Europe. It's a gorgeous city. Love it. Such a lot of history and everything else there. If you want to go and see real history, and, you know, fantastic architecture, and go to a city of phenomenal culture, go to Vienna. I mean, for goodness sake, Vienna has a waltz all of its own. It has dance styles unique to Vienna. It's a great city, and I have friends that live there, so I'm sure I could maybe sometime make my way out there. I've not been there in a long time. I think they used to have a jazz festival years ago that I used to play at. Don't know whether they still have it running or not, but they certainly did. Maybe in the early 90s, and that was probably the last time I was there, to be honest. Martin says chord track will improve over time. It's a tricky thing, really. And then he mentions a certain piece of software, BAIB, has had those features for a long time, and it still doesn't always get it right. Yeah, Band in the Box it's not really the same as chord track in Studio One. It's a bit different. It's not that it's doing chord detection. That's the difference. Band in the Box doesn't do chord detection in the same way that Studio One does. You can input your chords. You can type in chords, and you can have the virtual musicians play those chord changes for you, which is a bit different. I use Band in the Box. I don't use it to record with. I don't use it for tracking or anything like that. I use it as a practice aid because I can type in chord changes and set myself challenges for improvising and that kind of stuff. So that's what I do. That's how I practice improvising. I stick Band in the Box on. I try in different styles, and then I have it change key every couple of choruses. So that's how I work it. So pretty much I can play a 12-bar blues using bebop changes in most every key now fairly confidently. D flat is a bit more of a challenge on the piano, but I can do it. And the only way I've been able to do it is Band in the Box, just running it. It's useful for those kind of things. Bob T says, wow, I'm real late. Yes, I'm just about to finish, in fact. In fact, we've run over a little bit. Deer Creek says, Melodyne Studio is actually more powerful. I imagine chord track will start to approach that in the near future. Well, with ARA 2 pretty much just around the corner, I would imagine that the integration between Melodyne and Studio One is going to get tighter, I would imagine. So there you go. I'm not going to say any more about that than that because, again, I'm not allowed to. Chris says, hello, I must be going, quoting Groucho Marx. Yeah, Groucho Marx, one of the funniest men alive. Melodyne doesn't tell you the chord, but Polymode analyzes it much better. Yeah, even then, Deer Creek, it doesn't really do jazz changes too well. Martin Wheat says ACW does this. It's a feature in Band in the Box that will analyze a mixed down stereo track. It also has a chord arranger feature separate for choosing specific chords. Yeah, it does. But again, it's not really quite the same thing as chord track in Studio One. Chord track in Studio One is a little bit more like the feature in Logic and in Pro Tools. A little bit. But I think they've kind of like taken it a step further in a way that Pro Tools, the guys over Avid have probably just, thought maybe, but we won't do it that way. And now Presonus has done it that way, and they're gone, oh, okay, that's possible then. Deer Creek says, Melodyne Studio analyzes whatever it sees. Jazz changes doesn't mean anything, really. Yeah, well, my experience of Melodyne Studio and its chord analyzing is that it's not particularly accurate with 6 or 7 note voicings. It doesn't know how to discern the intervallic relationship between those 7 voices in the chord and how they relate to the root note, and therefore it's not really sure how to spell the chord sometimes. So, but hey, that's a challenge with any audio detection software. It's at the end of the day, it's an algorithm that makes an educated guess. That's all it does. So yeah, it's maybe a little bit more accurate. You get maybe more accuracy with 5 and 6 note voice chords, but not really a whole lot beyond that, I don't think. And that's my experience with Melodyne. So there you go. All right, guys, we are overtime now because we were a little late starting up because for some reason I couldn't get the stream to start. So so that held me up for about 10 minutes. So I'm glad to have been able to extend the show by a few minutes. But we're going to wrap it up here. So that was the show, guys. Next Wednesday coming, Songwriting Simplified over at Johnny Gives channel for another installment of Songwriting Simplified. And then we'll be back here on the next Sunday for the final show of Sunday Night Live in this room. And then, as I say, we'll be taking a short break after that. And when I'm in my new room and I'm all settled in, then we will get to doing some more Sunday Night Lives, hopefully with better quality stream. Looking forward to that. Deer Creek says, you're saying 6 to 7 note means jazz. No, I'm not saying that. Wouldn't you say the omission of the root, the fifth, etc. would be more jazz? Yeah, I was being more general than specific there, Deer Creek, for the sake of time, because this is this could go down a very specific route and become quite an in-depth discussion, which I don't want to have at the end of the show. Chris Beebe says, I'm sure algorithms are on the horizon that will be able to recognize complex chords. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they will. I'm pretty sure that Chord Track will be able to deal with more complex chord voicings in the very near future. I'm just saying at the moment, it doesn't at the moment, and neither does Melodyne Studio. They just don't at the moment, but they will, I'm sure. Orange Chapman says, my Rode NT1 has passed away. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but you've picked up an MXL 910. Any suggestions on setup levels? Johnny Guy suggested it. Yeah, that's a good mic. The MXL 990 is also a good one, which doesn't really cost a whole lot more than 910, to be honest. But yeah, you've got yourself a good mic there, and I would say, as a general rule of thumb, be conservative with your levels, particularly your input levels into your interface. If you're going to be recording something loud like a saxophone or a trumpet, then I would say use a 10 dB pad if it has one. I'm not sure that it has a 10 or 20 dB pad, because that will just reduce some of the gain into the mic, which means you're not going to overload it. Protects you from overloading a bit. Deer Creek audio shouts at me, shouts clusters. Yeah, clusters like that. I don't think there's any algorithm in the world that's going to be able to say that, what chord that is. But, you know, I'm sure there will be algorithms that will be able to tell you this. You know, some of those are very discernible chords. I know some of you on here will not be able to discern what those are, but you know, those are discernible jazz voicings there. And at the moment, there is no algorithm in the world would be able to discern those kind of voicings. So there you go. Yeah, Johnny suggested the 990. He's got that, and I know a lot of people that got the MXL 990, and they're great mics, and they're cheap, super cheap, but really good. Frank says, thanks again for your input on music. As usual, you're the best. Well, thank you so very much. That's very kind, Frank. Night for now. Hopefully your move to your new location goes smooth. Yeah, I hope so too. we're trying to raise an army of volunteers to come and help us do that, and try and get a hold of a van as well. We need to hire a van. So my challenge for this week is completing my mixes and organizing an army of volunteers to help us move, and a van and somebody to drive the van. So it's going to be a busy week, guys. So, but as I say, if you still got questions, email them to me, please, at johnny@johnnylichtenstudios.co.uk. If you are not signed up to my email list, go to the description below this video. There is a link there. Hit that link, fill out the form, and when you've confirmed your subscription to the email list, you will get an email that gives you the links to the Dropbox folders, as I said earlier on in the show, for the stems for Chanel and also the compression video series. So sign up if you're not already, because I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to hit your inbox with, which is going to be very cool, that hopefully you'll be able to dig into. And if you're on my email list, you will get advanced notice of when the VIP is going to go live. So, and I may even give you guys a sneak preview of what the VIP looks like and is going to be like, with all the content and everything up, everything there up there. All right, guys. Good night. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. And I will see you on Wednesday over at Johnny Gibe's channel for Songwriting Simplified, and then back here again on Sunday. Take care, folks. Bye for now.